extra piece of paper out and ready for yourselves. And now would be also a good time to hand out that worksheet. Oh, I also wanted to let you guys know that we will be expected to do any corrections this week for last week's work. I looked back at your grades and I made a list of kids who have more than one grade below a 7 from last week's work. So if you have more than one grade below a 7, go back in your folder, grab those out, make corrections, and return them back to me. Turn them in just like homework assignments so that you can improve your grade and I can see that you've worked on analyzing your errors, okay? So basically what you would do is just erase all your work that you did wrong on the questions that you got wrong, and then redo that particular question, those particular questions, all of them that you got wrong, and turn it back in again. Okay, if you don't get that done, I might be inviting you to Friday school. If you need an extra copy of any of those pages, you can come to my classroom, and just outside my door, I have extra copies of each of those homework assignments from last week, organized in little bins for you. Okay, or you can always look online and work from the internet from those days, like I just showed you. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're going to fold our paper if you haven't already, put your name on it, and later you'll staple it to this worksheet. The thing we would need to be looking at now is our, I suppose I have to stop presenting.
No, you paint yourself. Yeah. You paint yourself and then anybody else. You paint your, yeah, there you go.
Okay, so here's where I need you to be in your notes. Okay, so in that box, you see that there is an adding fraction cheat sheet. Number 1 says check for common denominators. When I look at this assignment, do I see any of the questions that have common denominators? No, none of them have common denominators to start with. So we must find our common denominators for each one of these problems and then work from there. Number 2, we need to rebuild the fraction with common denominators. If you only have to rebuild one fraction to make the other one match, that's fine. Or you can do the easiest common denominator and just multiply those two denominators together, the easy way, okay? But you'll have a lot more simplifying to do. Once you have common denominators, you can move to number 3, add straight across the top. And then number 4, you keep the same denominator. And number 5, check to see if you need to simplify. I had lots of people forgetting that improper fractions need to be simplified. And I had several people forgetting to look and see if the numerator and denominator have anything in common. So leave those notes out as you're working on your assignment today. I'm going to go ahead and open a page so we can work on a few of these together. What? I'm not presenting? Okay. Right now. So your entire screen, share. Okay, so they can see what I'm doing now. Oh, I don't want that one. Okay, so let's look at a few of these problems together before I send you on your merry way to work alone. Okay, so question number 1, we'll do together, if you don't mind. We have 3 1/2, add to that 4 3/10. Okay, I'm giving myself a long line because I know I've got to do a couple of things. I look at 1/2 and I think to myself, I can make 1/2 into a fraction with 10 in the bottom. So I only need to monkey with one of my fractions, right? So if I do that, I'd have to do 2 times 5 equals 10, right? And then 5 times 1 is 5. Doesn't it make sense that when you have 1/2, it's the same as having 5 out of 10? So I didn't change the value of my number. I just multiplied by the value of 1, which is 5 over 5, to make an equivalent fraction. Now am I ready to add? Yes. I can add my 5 and my 3, and I get 8 tenths. Keep that same denominator. Okay, now I have to look at the last step. That last step says to simplify. Both the numerator and denominator in this case have what factor in common? 2. So I need to divide by the form of 1, that is 2 over 2. And so then my answer is going to stay as 7, but what's 8 divided by 2? 10 divided by 2. Okay? So that is what I have for my answer for number 1. Okay? If that answer isn't found in the little circles on the bottom of your page, if it's not found there, then you probably don't have the right answer. Let's check. Is there a 7 and 2 and 4/5? Okay? There is. So we're going to cross out the diamond straight above it that's connected with a string. Right? They kind of look like little ornaments, don't they?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what we'll do there. And you're showing your work for every single problem. Any paper turned in without work showing for every step of the problem without mathematical thinking is going to be returned and you'll be asked to redo it. Okay, let's drop down to number 7. This was number 1. We're going to drop down to number 7. Number 7 says 3 7/9 plus 8 and 5 over 6. Now, we can multiply 9 times 6 and get a common denominator. We can multiply 6 times 9 down here and get a common denominator. But what if we do the least common denominator? Let's talk about possibly multiplying by 2 over 2 and by 3 over 3. Okay, I decided to do that because I knew 9 has 18 in common with 6 as a multiple. Okay, so that'll be less simplifying in the end. 7 times 2 is 14. 5 times 3 is 15. When I add 15 and 14, I believe I get 29. And when I add 8 and 3, I believe I get So is 11 and 29/18 going to be on our front page? No, because exactly, simplify also means that when you have an improper fraction, you need to take care of that. And then we know that 29/18, that really means this, doesn't it?
Yeah.
One set of 18 will go into 29, and there'll be 11/18 left over. So I take this whole number 1 right here, and I add it to the 11. So my new answer is going to be 12 and 11/18. Okay. Hopefully that answer is somewhere on there, and you can cross off the diamond above that circle. Okay. And you have all your work, all your steps written down. Mr. Van Horn, do you have all these steps written down on your separate sheet of paper?
Okay. All on the separate sheet?
Yeah. All the work goes on your folded piece of paper.
All the way together, I will on the paper.
But the problem is if we do them together, I want you to follow along. You're basically taking notes. You're leaving yourself examples of how you solve the problem for the ones we did together in class. So you need to copy them.
I'll remember how you fold it. Sometimes I don't remember.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that very last word problem, let's look at that for a moment. Okay. Of course it's going to be adding, isn't it? And I remember when we had a word problem with more than one thing needed to be added, it kind of threw us for a little loop. So let's look at that assignment, or that particular question, sorry. Okay. It says, the legs on a computer table are 23 and 70 inches high. The top is 24 inches wide, 48 inches long, and 1 3/16 inches thick. How high above the floor is the table's surface? Okay. So let's think through that problem. I'm going to give us a new piece of paper here. So we've got a computer table. Sometimes it's helpful to draw a picture. Okay. Okay, there's my computer table. There's the 4 legs. It's a sorry looking computer table, but it'll have to do. Okay. So they're saying the legs on the computer table are 23 and 7/8 inches long. That's the length of the legs. Okay. The top of the table measures 24 inches by 48 inches. Okay. So that tells me how much area the top of the table has. Right? Okay. And then it says that the table itself is 1 3/16 inches thick. So that means the wood that makes the top of the table is 1 3/16 inches thick. Okay. So the question asks, how high above the floor is the table's surface? Okay. So that means we need to know from the floor to the top of this table. Okay, so we really don't need the length and the width of the top of the surface. That just tells you the area on top of the table or on top of the computer desk, right? So then that would mean then we would have a lot less problems to work with. We just have the 23 and 7/8 plus 1 3/16. Okay, and I think this is easy to switch because 16 is a multiple of 8. So I can change that to 14/16. And now I'm ready to add. I get 17/16, 24 and 17/16. Is that one of the answers?
No.
No. That's because this is improper right here. The top is bigger than the bottom. The numerator is bigger than the denominator. So that means one whole set of 16 will go into 17, and you still have this 1/16 left. This 1, which is a whole number, has to be added to the 24. So my answer is going to be 25 and 1/16. Hey, do you have to copy my ugly drawing? No, you don't have to, but that's what you should be doing to help you solve problems like that. If you can't see it mentally, try to draw it out to think about it. Emma?
It's not ugly.
Thank you. She says my computer desk is not ugly. Isaac?
I would say it's the best one.
Well, it's missing a leg.
Yeah, that's one bit.
Nonetheless, it works for our purposes. Okay, so you guys have quite a bit of practice here. Not only do you have quite a bit of practice, but you need to go back and check your grades from the last week's work. Anything that is 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, or 1 for a grade has to be corrected and returned. Okay, so if you need help figuring out which assignment you need to redo, you can come see me. That is okay. During your study hall, I'll help you figure out which ones you need to correct and return. All right? You can go ahead and get busy. You have the remainder of this class period to work on these.